when I crossed the line into flirting with full on addiction after my son was born, Brody, when he was little, I was a stay at home mom. And so my well meaning pediatrician, when he was a newborn, I wasn't making enough milk for him. And she told me, well, if you drink a dark beer, that'll help you produce more milk because of the yeast or something. I don't know. I just heard dark beer drink. It's like, okay, I can do that. So I would drink too
Mm-hmm.
and help with milk production. And then when he was down for his nap, it's 11:30, you can still make brunch for yourself at your house. So I would make bacon, eggs, and toast and have 2 mimosas because why not? And then I'm making dinner. I'm going to make myself a cocktail or have a glass of wine. Oh, my husband's home. I'm going to make him, a drink, and I'm going to make myself one. And then we're going to have a nightcap.
Mm-hmm.
So I was drinking 6, 7, 8 drinks a day for about a year and wondered why I couldn't lose weight. Why is my postpartum body not, why am I not
Mm-hmm.
bouncing back like, all the celebrities on TV? Why am I not doing all that? But I drank like that for a while and for years actually. But when I went back to work, I obviously wasn't drinking on the job. That would not be good. But I was still having 3, 4, 5 drinks a night at home.
Yeah.
Really, kind of close, probably like closer to 3 or 4, which I think once you hit, I can't remember the exact number of drinks that the government tells you, but when I was definitely over that amount of weekly consumption, I was definitely over that for many years. Then we moved to Houston. That was a whole nother set of stressors. But the great thing about Houston is we have all these breweries with playgrounds.
Mm.
So it's very easy to go and get beer and pizza and have your kid like jump off the top of the playground. It's fine. You know,
Question, how long did y'all wait to have kids?
we waited 5 years.
Okay.
I know people that they started trying on their honeymoon. That just was not for us. We wanted to travel, which did we travel? No, because we drank all of our money away. We knew that we didn't want to have kids right away because we were still trying to figure out who we were. We didn't know if we wanted to have kids. For a while, we thought, no, we're not going to have kids. We're just going to be that cool aunt and uncle type person
Mm-hmm.
that, maybe when my siblings have kids, we'll just spoil them.
Mm-hmm.
But we saw everyone else starting to have kids. And our friends from church, they were having kids and they looked cute and they newborn babies, they smell so good. And I told my husband, well, Scott, let's just try for a couple of months and see what happens. And I stopped taking my birth control pills and we were pregnant within a month. I actually ran a half marathon pregnant and didn't know it.
Wow.
Yeah. I thought I was just throwing up because I was nervous or, had
Oh,
butterflies.
wow.
No, there was
Wow.
a baby in there.
Yeah.
There was a legit baby in there. So Brody was in there. He was there. And, yeah, wouldn't change it
Damn,
for the world
women are
though.
resilient. I mean, people
Oh,
are
yeah.
too. I mean, men are too. I'm just like, they like
Oh, yeah.
just all the
It's
things.
like, I literally was throwing up at the start line. I was like, oh, I'm just nervous. No, I was like 10 weeks pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the things that we do when we look back, it's like, oh my gosh, how did I survive that?
And then I didn't mean to like
Oh,
interrupt
no,
you or
you're fine.
anything, but just going, so you went back to work
Yeah.
and then we're still drinking. What escalated it after that?
So COVID
Mm.
was so I will say there's 2 things. Where we happen to move in Houston, it's a very family friendly area. Even the bars
Yeah.
are family friendly.
Yeah.
Like they have kids menus and kids drinks and it's very family oriented.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really easy to go to the brewery, get some drinks, have him play on the playground
Yeah.
or there's legitimate bars here that are designed for parents. So it was very easy to do. So I could try all the new beers that I wanted or all the new wines, and they had a whole play area for little kids. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy to think about now. But what pushed me further over was COVID.
Mm.
We were all working from home. It was not fun because I happened at the time to have a pretty stressful job. I was a workers' comp claims adjuster. So
Oh, wow.
Yeah, nobody's did that for 5 years.
Wow.
Um, yeah, yeah. Nobody's happy when they are hurt. Nobody's happy when they're hurt at work.
Mhm.
And people definitely were not happy during a pandemic. So, there was that and then not being in the office to talk about like, "Oh, they just injured worker. He just, he just told me blah, 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 blah." Like there, you didn't have your coworkers there to talk to.
Mm.
So in order to deal with the stress of that, I would just I order the groceries in this house. I do all of that. So I just would order bottles of wine. And at one point I was going through about 4 bottles a
Mm.
day, usually realistically about one and a half a day.
Mhm.
Because you could, after log off your computer at 4 p.m., fill up this size glass with some wine. That's a significant chunk of the bottle. And then, cooking dinner, fill that up. Fill it up after, during dinner, fixing dinner, after dinner, drink a whole bottle.
Yeah.
And there were times on the weekends where it would be 4 bottles because we couldn't go anywhere.
Mhm.
So we just give Brody his iPad, or I'd wait till my husband went to sleep and I'd sneak out of our room and pop open a bottle of red wine and just watch Netflix by myself because I couldn't
Mhm.
deal with being at home, not alone because he was here too, but just it was a very stressful time as it was for everybody in the country.
Mm.
It was incredibly stressful.
I had an
I
interesting
guess.
experience with COVID. Like there was always something from the beginning that was like, there's just something that feels off here as far
Mhm.
as like massive restrictions. And I'm not big on like having like freedom restricted. And so at some point I stopped watching the news, and I was very lucky to have been on like with my, in my ex relationship or ex partner. We were out on like 8 acres in nature.
Okay.
It was very peaceful. In some ways, like for me, it was like an introvert's dream as far as like, okay, I don't have to go out and I got the time. I'd always said, I'm like, I just want the time to dedicate to writing a book. And I'm like, wow, okay, well, I guess I have that time now.
Right.
But it was like a magnifying glass on our relationship. And we ended up breaking up at the end of 2020.
Oh, wow.
So it was challenging in some ways, but in some ways I didn't feel as, I don't know, stressed or as, yeah, as I hear a lot of people have, or I didn't have the same experience.
Yeah.
I was trying not to let the outside stressors influence my internal state as much, but it's just a good reminder for me that my experience isn't the universal experience.
Yeah. Well, and
But
it's different when you have like when you're in the suburbs and
mhm,
trying to work while the daycare shut down.
yeah, that's challenging. And like,
And it
or
was,
do you have to like teach as well at all, or
yeah, no,
yeah.
Brody wasn't quite old enough for that, but
Mm.
they shut the daycare down for 3 weeks almost.
Yeah,
And so, but you're still expected to work and produce and everything. So he turned into an iPad kid for about a
yeah.
month. And so the way we could get back in daycare, the state of Texas sent out this mandatory form where if you wanted to send your kids to daycare, you had to be an essential worker. And
Um,
they put financial services as being
oh, yeah.
essential and insurance is financial. So
Yeah.
we that's how we got him back in.
Mhm.
And there were hardly any kids there. So he had the run of the place.
Yeah, and I
So
totally don't blame you for any of that. I mean, like, do what you gotta
yeah,
do.
yeah. Now, was it the best? No, but he turned, I guess when he turned 4 was around, I'm so bad with like numbers and times and places, but like during the COVID time, he learned how to read because
Mhm.
there was nothing else to do. Like he was four
Mm.
and a half and he was learning sight words.
Mm.
And so, which is a blessing now,
That he
except for
loves
him,
to
like,
read.
but
Yeah.
he loves to read. He loves to create. He also loves to try to get around firewalls, but that's okay.
Yeah, I was about to say,
You know?
he was getting creative to get to that book, those pages, and,
Yeah,
I mean, I love to hear
exactly.
it, that young kids are wanting to read. Love to hear that actually, because
Oh,
there's a
yeah.
part of me that's afraid of, like, our attention span these days and, like, just, like, the value of words in a book, and so it's
Oh,
just
yeah,
near and
most
dear to my
definitely.
heart. No, I'm curious, did it just continue to escalate, or, was there, like, a moment that shifted, or was, like, an all is lost type of moment, or, like, a rock bottom type of moment
It
that
was
pivoted, like, your
it was
trajectory?
actually it was a religious experience. And that's
Mm.
the best way I know how to describe it. Scott and I were on our 10-year wedding anniversary trip in Denver, Colorado. It's January 2021. Everything's kind of opening a little bit, sort of, not really. But we
Mhm.
got a really good deal on plane ticket on Southwest. It was like $200,
Mhm.
and we got a penthouse hotel in Denver, which would normally be something like $1,000 a night. We got it
Mhm.
for $300. So it's like, when else would we get this? But we went out. We were there for about a week. My in-laws watched Brody so we could do what we needed to do, go out and have a good
Yeah.
time. But we went out this one particular day, and I had at least 13 drinks that day, at least, probably more. But we got back to the hotel, and I told my husband, I don't feel good. I think I'm going to be sick. And this hotel room was so big, it had 2 bathrooms. And he was like, well, I'm going to take this one. You take this one. I'm like, okay, okay, okay. And as one does when they are incredibly intoxicated, I just started vomiting and vomiting. And at some point, I passed out.
Mm.
And I woke up and I couldn't really move my head. It was like, what is going on here? And vomit had dried in my hair and had like made me it acted as a glue. And I was stuck to the bathroom floor because it's Denver. It's cold there. Things
Yeah.
freeze,
Yeah. Oh.
So I was like, what is going on here? I can't get up. So I had to like take my hand and like shivvy the vomit
Mhm.
out. And I stood, I sat up and I looked. And if I had fallen a little bit differently, I would have fallen head first into the toilet and
Mm.
probably asphyxiated on my own vomit and toilet bowl
Wow.
water.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh my goodness, what is going on here? I stood up, was really wobbly, stood up, held onto the sink, and I just looked at myself. And then I heard this voice and it said, are you done yet?
Mm.
I was like, yeah. It's like, are you done yet? It's like, and then I realized, like, oh my gosh, God is talking to me.
Yeah.
This is God. God is talking to me. My goodness. And so I said, yes, I'm done. And if you'll help me get over this,
Mhm.
I'll help other people. And that was January 8th of 2021.
Wow.
And so I've celebrated my 4 years.
Yeah.
And since then, it's been this whole journey of, how am I going to help other people? What does that look like? And have I been tempted to drink? Heck yeah. Life's hard. I have 2 kids now,
Yeah.
not just one. And like the second one, he's developmentally delayed. Like, he is
Mhm.
not like normal. He's not a super genius like my first kid. Maybe he will be some sort of super genius. I don't know. But like, he's 3. But
Mhm.
like it has not been easy.
Mhm.
In 2024, I had basically a mini break from reality. Like, I saw things that didn't exist and heard things that didn't exist. I had a medication malfunction. That's the best way I know how to put it.
Mhm.
And I'm lucky to be alive.
Mm.
And like, that was my 2024. Lucky to be alive. And 2023 was hard too. We lost people in 2024. My father-in-law died. My
Mhm.
grandmother died. Our dog even died. We had 2
Mm.
dogs and now we only have 1.
Mhm.
Like, it's but the story of how I got sober is always compelling, but it's what has happened since.
I was about to ask, like, I'm
Yeah.
curious about, like, maybe the first step that you took, or like, did you find support, or did you like go to
Yeah.
AA, or what were your
So,
like tools, or that first just stumbling step, that you
uh,
take when you make that decision, at that
the fir
pivotal moment, like, okay, I'm going to walk this different life
yeah.
path.
Well, when we were in the not elevator, in the airport to come home, I was notorious for needing at least 2 margaritas to get on the
Mhm.
plane. I'm not a and during COVID, the way I kind of in order to get on the plane to go to Denver, I thought I needed 2 margaritas to kill the COVID, with the alcohol
Mhm.
killing it. Yeah. And my husband was like, are you sure you don't want to drink before you get on the plane? I was
Mhm.
like, no, no, I'm sober now. I'm sober. And he's like, okay. And our plane got delayed. And while we were sitting there waiting, I started Googling sobriety books.
Mm.
And I read Alan Carr's The Easy Way to Stop Drinking. It's a
Mm.
pretty famous series. He wrote a book called The Easy Way to Stop Smoking, and that he's a recovery specialist. And so I listened to that book the entire way home. And basically the book talks you out of drinking. And it's very fascinating. And I also read another book. It's called Quit Like a Woman, and it's by a lady, and I can't remember her name, and I can never remember it when I'm talking. But she tells, it's about her own sobriety story, her journey. But she kind of hit on some facts that made me very angry at big
Holly
alcohol. Yeah, yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah.
I've Googled it.
Very good book, perfect book. But she told this. There's a story in there of how the suffragettes, in order to get the right to vote, they thought they needed to be a man, like be a man, right? We need to vote. We need to be a man. We need to be like men. We're just as powerful as they are. And one of the ways they did that was they had a smoke out. They all had cigars and cigarettes. It's like, look at us. We're just like you. We can smoke. That doesn't make any logical sense. But that's what they assumed masculinity. And so much of drinking, go to the bar with your coworker, be a man, get the whiskey, be a man, oh, you're watching your figure, get the White Claw, it's fine. So realizing that a giant marketing team was out to poison me and my friends bugged me. And I decided, like, no, I am legitimately done with this, because some man and some marketing team in Los Angeles, California can't tell me what to put in my body. Yeah.
And then so from
Oh,
there,
and I tried to go to AA.
Yeah.
But a lot of the AAs were virtual at the time.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, and then the idea of like talking to someone at like random strangers over a Zoom call was not going to happen.
Yeah.
So I read a lot of books. I tried to find an in-house treatment facility to go to. I thought that would be a good idea, but they didn't have any in Katy. Because if you think about it, if you live in the suburbs in a nice, shiny, big house, do you want a alcohol and substance use treatment facility in your neighborhood or within 25 miles of you? No, you don't. So there were no places to go. There wasn't really a big support group. So I read books.
Yeah.
I read the Bible 3-4 times. Had no idea what half of it meant, because it's wasn't written recently. It was written a couple of thousand years ago. So I was had no context really. And I'm someone that grew up going to church, and I was a Christian at that, still am, always will be. But like I had no context of some of this stuff and didn't even think to like study, like get another resource to interpret. But I was just reading. I was like, okay, this King David guy, he talks to God about everything in Psalms. Like he's even telling him about like in how dark his soul is. Like